Welcome to Saturday Night Hoops in the Missouri Valley Conference, and it features 21st ranked Wichita State facing Illinois State, the last Valley team to claim a victory against the Shockers. From Redbird Arena in Normal, Illinois, alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Mark, Wichita State comes in one of the hottest teams in the country, undefeated in their last 12, and you feel like they have as good a chance as any to make a run at the Final Four. Why is that?
Guard play wins in March. Van Vliet and Baker, there you see their numbers. They're the winningest backcourt in the country. In fact, the winningest backcourt in the last 50 years in the Missouri Valley. Coaching, Greg Marshall, one of 7 coaches in the country to own the wins overall for a career at 2 different Division I schools. Well, those other guys, Jim Calhoun. The depth charge, number 15 in America. The Shockers of Wichita State. They put up 30 points per game and a sense of urgency. This senior class has been to the Final Four. They started 35-0 and been to the Sweet 16. What's the next step? I think it's the Final Four.
And that senior class led by preseason All-American Fred Van Vliet, coming off a career-high 32 points in their comfortable win against Evansville last time out. He's averaging over 14 a game in Missouri Valley play, and quite simply, he is the engine that drives this Wichita State team. The officials tonight, Terry Davis, Brad Ferry, and Jeff Campbell. Shockers in their road black uniforms. They are riding a 9-game road win streak in the Missouri Valley Conference, and they control the opening tip.
Illinois State's going to open up in zone. They're trying to take away dribble penetration, especially from number 23, Fred Van Vliet.
There's another preseason All-America, 31 in black, Ron Baker. His numbers down a little bit because of Van Vliet's emergence. Once he's healthy and he starts off with a 3.
The last 6 games, he's shooting over 56% from 3. Rich, he is 100% healthy, and it's showing over the last 6 games. He's been dominant from the point guard position.
Here's Devon Akun-Purcell. He's the number 1 scorer, number 44 in white for the Redbirds. Paris Lee, the point guard, into Akun-Purcell.
They really want to get in the paint. This is their big lineup.
3 on the shot clock. And it's a shot clock violation. And in a capsule mark, the first 2 possessions of the game, you see why Greg Marshall and the Shockers are one of the winningest teams over the last 4 years. He's the winningest head coach in Wichita State history. Greg Marshall passing the great Ralph Miller in their last victory over Evansville.
That's amazing when you start talking about passing legends like Ralph Miller. A tremendous accomplishment by Greg Marshall.
And he did it in 51 fewer games than Miller did.
It's amazing.
Here's Evan Wessel collecting his 100th win as a Shocker last time out. And there's another triple by the Shockers. Zach Brown, who is the defensive stopper on this team, showing he's got some range as well.
When Wichita State wins, Zach Brown shoots 55% from 3. Only 39 in their losses. Good start for Zach Brown.
First shot from Deontay Hawkins off the mark, but we have a foul away from the ball. That's going to go on Zach Brown, his first, so it'll be a fresh 30 seconds for the homestanding Redbirds, who come in, if they're not the hottest team in the Valley because of Wichita State, they're the 2nd hottest team, winners of 4 of their last 5.
They've won 4 out of their last 5 as Akun-Purcell looks for one from downtown. But, Rich, this is a team that believes they can beat Wichita State. They beat them in the Missouri Valley semifinals at Arch Madness, March 7th of 2015. That's the last time these 2 teams met.
Here's Van Vliet with the ball. And an offensive foul, and if that's on Brown, he's going to have to take a seat. But that also is one of the strengths of this Greg Marshall coached Wichita State team. They are as deep as anybody in the country.
And that's why they're so hard to guard, because Zach Brown goes down. You've got guys like Marcus McDuffie that have great strength. This is a team that's not built on just 2 guards. This is the deepest team that Greg Marshall has ever had at Wichita State.
Talked to Dan Muller yesterday about that, the head coach for the Illinois State Redbirds, and he said rebounding is a key, but controlling their depth is another key. Everybody in the Valley knows that when Greg Marshall goes to his bench, there's not a lot of drop-off. Now the freshman McDuffie guarding Akun-Purcell. Nice take to the hole, but he comes up empty, and McDuffie clears. Wichita State riding a 12-game win streak. That's the second longest current win streak in the nation. NBA three. First miss from Van Vliet and a good rebound, two hands by Akun Purcell. Hawkins and the Redbirds reset.
Watch for Mikhail McIntosh, number 11 in white. He's been the hot hand, the go-to guy for Illinois State.
He's really up to scoring as of late. 5 on the shot clock. Here's McIntosh. Off the window, no. And another rebound to McDuffie. Illinois State starting this game 0 for 4 from the field. McDuffie on the take, no good. And here come the Redbirds. Spot up 3, Hawkins. Weak side rebound to Baker.
Well, Van Vliet just outran everybody down the floor.
And Fred Van Vliet gets fouled hard. Wanted an intentional foul, but he'll go to the line and shoot 2.
Deontay Hawkins took the jump shot, and Fred Van Vliet just outran the entire white-shirted defense for Illinois State.
And a terrific look up ahead by Ron Baker as well.
That's the luxury here. Ron Baker can run the point as well, but Van Vliet just outruns everybody. He was behind everybody to start. Took a shot to the face.
Yeah, took one right in the kisser. Van Vliet playing in his home state of Illinois. He's from Rockford, Illinois. This will be the last time he's playing in his home state as a Wichita State Shocker.
Now, this is being reviewed now. Boy, that's really close, because it didn't look like Mikhail McIntosh there. It didn't look like he was playing the ball. This is going to be looked at pretty closely.
And Mark, you mentioned how Illinois State was the last Valley team to win. They did that in the semifinals of the Missouri Valley tournament last year. There's no love lost between these two teams.
No, it goes back to the Jackie Carmichael Kung Fu fighting game of about 4 years ago, when all of a sudden, with Wichita State down by 7 with 42 seconds to go at Redbird Arena, they found a way to win that game, and it has been a hard-fought, hard-nosed, tough type of game ever since.
It'll be a 2-shot foul. No technical, no flagrant called on Mikhail McIntosh. So his first foul as Fred Van Vliet steps to the line. And oh, by the way, among also the other accolades for Van Vliet, he leads the conference in free throw shooting at 82%.
Over the last 6 games, this is when I've seen him become completely healthy. He has a 7.4 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. It's incredible the way he is distributing the ball. And he went for 32 points as well against Evansville. He's playing at player of the year level, not just in the Valley, but across the country right now.
2 for 2 for Van Vliet. He has 5, and it's an 8-0 Wichita State start to this game. Redbirds in second place in a logjam right now in the Missouri Valley Conference, but a 4-game lead for the Shockers at 11-0.
That's a mosh pit for second place.
Hawkins, yes, from the corner.
Deontay Hawkins, such a big key. He's got size, he can see over smaller defenders, and he can really stroke that 3 ball.
His last 3 games, Hawkins 77% from distance. McDuffie tries to save it. Van Vliet does. Now they'll have to hurry up their offense with 10 on the shot clock. Look in the corner, McDuffie. Not that time. And we're going to be going the other way. A Wichita State foul. 15:36 to go. A good start for the Wichita State Shockers and their big man, the little man, Fred Van Vliet.
Fred Van Vliet over the last 6 games, over 56%. Splat!
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Cigna, together all the way, and by Acura, precision crafted performance. Back inside Redbird Arena, what they call Doug Collins Court, maybe the most famous of all Illinois State Redbirds, but it's the Wichita State Shockers ranked 21st in the country with an 8-3 lead, 15:36 to go alongside Mark Adams. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Justin McLeod, a three-point sniper, going to see his first action for Dan Muller's Redbirds as they get set to inbounds, 15:36 to go, and the Redbirds trailing by 5.
Watch number 15 in white, Justin McLeod. He's the guy that hit the big shots at Arch Madness, really, to beat Wichita State. And he's been shooting extremely well lately.
Paris Lee from 3. Offensive rebound, loose ball, and no surprise there that Evan Wessel gets on the floor and gets one for the Shockers.
He's always around those loose balls.
Anton Grady gave it up. Wills thought about the 3. Instead, puts up the floater, comes up empty. And Ron Baker had a foot on the baseline, so it'll stay Redbirds basketball.
Illinois State really forcing shots early coming out of timeout. I'd expect them to run a little bit more of a set play, get a few guys involved, especially McLeod, as well as he's shot the ball lately. He's averaging almost 10 points a game over the last 3 games.
Step back triple from McCune Purcell, way off the mark, and it'll be Wichita State basketball.
You almost feel like Illinois State wants to score 10 points in one possession right now. They're playing a nationally ranked team. They're too amped right now.
It's funny you say that. 70 is kind of the magic number for Illinois State. They are 12-1 when they allow 70 points or less. They're 1-2, or 1-10 rather, when they allow more than 70 points. And we welcome you to Normal, Illinois, where the Wichita State Shockers, ranked 21st in the country, are out to an 8-3 lead against their Missouri Valley Conference rivals, the Illinois State Redbirds. It's been a good start for the Shockers, and it's been a good start to the Missouri Valley Conference season. 12-0. They're on an undefeated streak of 12-0. That's the second longest in the country. Alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Mark, not only is that 12-0 undefeated streak right now what gets your attention, you think they're good enough to make a run to the Final Four. Why is that?
No question. When you talk about guard play with Fred VanVleet and Ron Baker, those two guys are the winningest backcourt tandem in the country and the most successful winningest backcourt tandem in the last 50 years in the Missouri Valley. Coaching, Greg Marshall. He's one of 7 coaches that owns the wins record at 2 different schools. The depth charge, number 15 in the country at 30 points per game, coming off the bench for the Shockers. Why do I think they're going to make the Final Four? There's a sense of urgency. The last 3 seasons, Final Four, 35-0 in the Sweet 16. What's the next step? I think it's the Final Four, maybe even a national title for Wichita State.
And it does kind of line up with the way that the entire landscape of college basketball is. There are a lot of really good teams, but no dominant teams right now.
I don't think number one seed is going to the Final Four. I think there's 30 or 40 teams that could win this thing.
That will make for a more maddening March Madness than we're even used to. Well, Monday is Big Monday on ESPN. We got another ACC heavyweight battle between number 19 Louisville and the Duke Blue Devils, led by Grayson Allen. That's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Allen and his fellow teammate Luke Kennard combining 10 for 18 from 3 in their win earlier today at Cameron Indoor against NC State.
Louisville playing with a little chip on their shoulder after this past week with the NCAA allegations and the penalty handled down by the president of the university. That crowd was electric today to support.
Nice look. Van Vliet to Shaq Morris. And Shaq Morris, we talked to Greg Marshall yesterday. He said that's been his most pleasant surprise. He went from the doghouse, not necessarily the penthouse just yet, but he's been really happy with Shaq Morris's play the last few weeks.
When you look at Anton Grady and Shaq Morris, they combined for 14 points and 8 rebounds a game. That two-headed monster has been good for Greg Marshall.
Here's Nick Banyard. Baseline, no good. And an Illinois State foul. That'll give the ball back to the Shockers. Not only is Fred VanVleet scoring more in Valley play, he has 5 assists in 12 of his 16 games.
The reason he was open is that Connor Frankamp read the double team and dribbled away from the double team, which drug 3 defenders with him. And they allowed the wide open shot underneath by Shaq Morris.
Wichita State has gone 1 for 5 from the field since starting off knocking down their first two. Now they work the ball inside, mid-post to Morris.
Watch Connor Frankamp, number 33. He's played very well on the road, not very well at home.
McDuffie misses from close range, contested. Shockers have built such a great reputation nationally for their defense. What is the key to their defense?
Right at the point of attack. Fred VanVleet sets the tone on every possession. Look how active he is. Gets his hand on that ball right there. Might have forced that turnover just by being in position to make the play.
And that's the second Illinois State turnover.
Rich, my best defensive teams and the best defensive teams I see across the country is the point of attack. If you can attack that area and control ball penetration, then you got a chance to be really good. That's why they're so good.
VanVleet draws a crowd. Inside Morris. Spin, baseline. And Shaq Morris will go to the line and shoot. Showing quick feet there, number 24 in black.
And patience, too. The thing that Shaq Morris has learned is how to be quick, not in a hurry down the low block, and to take good shots when it's offered to him. He's really grown.
Shaq Morris, the leading scorer for the Shockers in 2 of their last 3 games, had 13, a season high, their last time out, a win against Southern Illinois. And we mentioned it earlier, Greg Marshall, in just his 9th season in Wichita, is now their all-time wins leader with 221. He has built a culture of winning in Wichita.
And who did he pass? Ralph Miller, one of the legends in coaching. Greg Marshall now is the all-time wins leader at Winthrop and Wichita State. Only 7 guys in NCAA history have done that at 2 different schools.
Nice take by McIntosh on the other end. He'll go to the line. And Mikhail McIntosh is someone Dan Muller really needs to get off in this game.
He's a mismatch guy. There you see his ability to put the ball on the floor. He's doubled his scoring over the last 6-7 games of the Valley season. He was about a 9-point guy. Now he's like a 17-point guy. Got good strength, great hands, and a great nose for the basket. He gets there.
How about this, Mark? We mentioned they're winners of 4 of their last 5 games. In their last 4 games, Mikhail McIntosh is averaging 20 points per.
He's one of the most physical guys that you'll find in the Valley. And if you're not physical against Wichita State, get ready to get spanked real bad.
And on that drive to the hoop that earned these 2 free throws, you saw his strength close to the basket. Dan Muller says he's the second best shooter on the team during their practice sessions.
Well, and the best is Deontay Hawkins, another guy that goes 6'7", can see over defenders. So you got 2 bigs that can roll out and bang the 3-ball.
Illinois State back in this game, down just 4 points, 12 minutes to go. Here's Baker, his first shot. Comes up completely empty. And the crowd loves that. Hawkins from the wing. Can't capitalize.
Great
Big
rebound.
Illinois State just 1 for 11. Spot up 3. Frankamp, that's his specialty.
Connor Frankamp plays so well on the road. He struggles in Wichita. He's a hometown guy. I think he feels pressure. When he gets on the road, he just plays free and clear.
Averaging a shade under 11 points a game on the road for a Shockers team that is already dominant away from home. There's Akun Purcell, his first field goal of the night. He has 4.
I like that big lineup with Akun Purcell, Deontay Hawkins.
VanVleet again.
He's just so valuable. As soon as you feel like you're making a run, he has that extra sense as to when to take and make big shots.
Averaging 42% from the field.
There he is again, got his hand on the ball.
We have another timeout on the floor. 11:04 to go. The Shockers looking for win number 13 in a row. Well, in his 9th season in Wichita, Greg Marshall has really found a home. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest wins of his career came their last time out against Southern Illinois. He now surpassed Ralph Miller as the all-time winningest head coach in Shocker history. And the general on the floor for him, Fred VanVleet, said this after the game. He goes to work every day, spends countless hours with young men, being away from your family and traveling. He didn't have the coaching tree to come up out of and just made it on his own. And for him to pass that milestone tonight here at Wichita is a huge accomplishment. He probably won't say it or acknowledge it much, but we all know how much it means to him. And we talked to Greg about that, and he said he didn't realize how much it meant to himself until about a day later when he checked his phone. He had about 100 texts from friends and family, but the most that touched him were the texts from his former teammates.
Yeah, Garrett Stutz reached out, Torrey Murray, all those guys reached out to say congratulations to the coach. You know, he's one of the most honest, genuine people you'd ever want to be around. He's just a hard-working dude that figured out a way to win college basketball games. The former assistant to John Kress, one of the great X's and O's guys at College of Charleston nobody ever talks about. John Kress was a great coach.
Nice up and under, but comes up empty. McIntosh. Frankamp stops, pops, no. Yeah, that would probably be the only exception Greg Marshall would take to that Van Vliet quote about the coaching tree, because he loves to give credit to John Kress.
Well, John Kress worked for Louis Carnesecca. That's quite a coaching tree right there, isn't it?
And Kuhn Purcell got the foul on Baker, and he'll go to the line. Well, Wichita State's probably been well documented. They were a preseason top 10 team, and then Fred Van Vliet had the hamstring injury, and they started 5-5, including losing 3 games in 4 days at the Advocare Invitational, and that dropped them basically out of contention until all of a sudden they are laying waste to the Missouri Valley Conference.
Landry Shamet went down. He will be back at some point during this season. Anton Grady went down with a spinal concussion down in Orlando. This is a team, though, that's getting more and more healthy. We saw Fred Van Vliet against St. Louis. He was 80%. He was limping up and down the floor. I saw him against Evansville just past weekend, went for 32. He's 100% now. And what's interesting to watch Greg Marshall's team is that it was a blessing to have that happen because of their depth. They now have an unfair advantage. And in coaching, all I ever want is an unfair advantage. And that unfair advantage for Wichita State is the development of depth.
Kuhn Purcell, a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He has 6, and it's a 5-point Wichita State lead. So far, that defense for the Shockers has really played well on the road, allowing only 2 field goals to the Redbirds so far.
They've been dominant. I saw them just pick apart defensively Evansville, who runs that motion offense as well as anybody in the country.
0 and Black Rashard Kelly on, along with the rest of the Wichita State Shockers bench, or rather, Baker will inbounds with 21 on the shot clock. What's the bread and butter for Wichita State's offense, Mark?
Well, you know, Ron Baker right there, who comes off the screen, knocks it down. You've got multiple weapons. If you need Van Vliet to make a shot, he does. If you need Baker to make a shot, and then there's about 7 other guys that can give you 4 points and 3 rebounds a game.
Inside, Banyard kicks it back out. Here's McIntosh for 3. No. And it's interesting, Ron Baker hasn't scored in double digits in their last 3 games. I asked Greg Marshall about that. He said, that's what's great about Ron Baker. He could care less about scoring. He just wants to win.
But his rebounds went up from 4 a game to 6 a game over the last 6 games. He's doing other things. He's deferred to Fred Van Vliet because Van Vliet has been on fire lately, and Ron Baker's been giving him the ball. They don't care who scores. They care who goes to the Final Four and wins the national title.
4 years of playing together. Those two are connected by a string.
A kid out of Scott City, Kansas, and Rockford, Illinois. They're best of friends.
Wills off the mark, and the officials say it's Wichita State basketball. Tuesday on ESPN, a Big Ten SEC doubleheader for you. First at 7, number 10 Michigan State and Denzel Valentine take on the 18th ranked Boilermakers. Then at 9, you want to check this out. Coach Cal will be mic'd up when the Cats battle the Dogs at Rupp Arena. And Sparty won today at Michigan. That was a big one for them. And the Wildcats thumped the Gators, and freshman Jamal Murray went off for 35 in that one, Mark.
He hit his first 6 threes in a row. Jamal Murray was on fire today.
Here's Wessel for 3. No. Ball goes out of bounds, and it'll be Redbirds basketball.
Well, the SEC is a mess at the top, isn't it? With LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Kentucky, they're all right there for the SEC title.
Again, a microcosm of the entire landscape.
Really
a lot of good teams.
Oklahoma loses today. North Carolina loses today. That's why I say I don't think a number 1 seed is even going to make it to Houston.
Wichita State, arguably the hottest team in basketball, coming in winners of 12 straight. Looking to make it 13 in a row. Only Stony Brook has a longer current win streak in the nation.
Yeah, Steve Pico and that bunch. They're good. Stony Brook's got a chance to win a game or two as well.
And just like Wichita State, they are dominating their conference, winning by almost 20 points a game, as are the Shockers.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin out of the Southland, another program with Thomas Walkup, and those guys that are just hammering the Southland right now.
.15 on the shot clock. Van Vliet will inbounds.
And when you've got Van Vliet, number 23, Ron Baker, 31, and Connor Frankamp, number 33, you've got serious shooting weapons. There's Frankamp.
Short, contested three, and Paris Lee grabs the loose ball. The pull-up, too strong. Hawkins the rebound, fresh 30, and he throws it away. We have a timeout on the floor. It'll be Shockers ball when we come back. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Panera Bread. Food as it should be. State leads Illinois State 19-11 in honor of the big game tomorrow. We decided to come up with some super bold predictions tonight, Mark Adams.
0. Let me say it again. 0. Number 1 seeds will reach the Final Four. And mark it down. Mark my words. Wichita State, Dayton, San Diego State, VCU, or Valpo. One or more of that list will make the Final Four. Mark my words.
I hate to tell you, in a year where number 1 and number 2 lose on the same day for the first time in a long time, Oklahoma and North Carolina I'm talking about, it might not be so bold that one of those teams makes a Final Four run.
Oh, no, it's bold, Rich. It's bold.
Alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Wichita State, dominant in the Valley once again. They've won 19 straight Missouri Valley regular season games, 9 straight on the road. Looking to make it 10 in that category tonight and extend the second longest current win streak in the nation to 13. Right now they're up 8 with just under 8 minutes to go in the first half.
They've won 81% of their road games since the 2010-2011 season. Why? Because Fred Van Vliet does that. He finds open teammates, and he's got guys that can finish plays like Anton Grady inside.
And we talk about unbeaten right now. The Shockers are unbeaten in Missouri Valley Conference play. How about UConn and South Carolina women? They're going toe-to-toe Monday night at 7 on ESPN2. Both of those teams ranked first and second, respectively, undefeated at this point in the country. The second year in a row they're meeting in this kind of situation.
Breanna Stewart just surpassed Tina Charles with over 2,370 points for her career. UConn is averaging 90 points a game and holding their opponents under 50.
Yeah, they're first in the nation in scoring, first in the nation in scoring defense.
I mean, their average margin is over 40. It's unbelievable.
Akun Purcell couldn't complete the alley-oop.
He's missed 3 shots at point-blank range.
Pull up. One and done for the Shockers. Illinois State needs a bucket badly, and that's the understatement of the year right now. Paris Lee almost gives it to him. They only have 1 field goal in the last 9 minutes, Mark.
Well, Devon Akun-Purcell has struggled lately to score even at point-blank range. But watch Paris Lee. Watch his right shoulder. He's going to go lefty on you. Watch his right shoulder. Right there. As he drops that right shoulder, it gives him leverage past Connor Frankamp, but he still couldn't convert.
Lee, normally a pretty good free throw shooter, 72% coming into the season, or coming into this evening, misses his first attempt. As a team, that's the first miss of the night for the Redbirds.
And Paris Lee, one of the top 5 guys in the country over the last 2 years in steals per game.
Goes 1 for 2. Want to hear a good stat line from your point guard in a win against Northern Iowa earlier this season. He went for 16 points, 6 dimes, and 0 turnovers.
Yeah, very capable.
Grady backdoor, just missed Baker, and it's a Wichita State turnover, their 3rd of the night.
Well, Baker sets his man up really good, and Akun Purcell bit on the bait, and Baker was going to take advantage.
Yeah, Grady let him just a hair too much on that one. Here's Lee, guarded by Van Vliet. 6.5 to go in the first half. Wichita State has led throughout. 5 on the shot clock. Hawkins in traffic.
Wow.
No.
2 for 21, and a lot of those shots have been at point-blank range. You know, they're trying too hard. They're playing a nationally ranked team. They want to win so bad, they're killing themselves right now.
Good effort by Rashard Kelly, picked up by who you like to call the Labrador Retriever, Evan Wessel.
Evan Wessel showed why right there, just went and got the loose ball. Was he a winner? Best winning percentage in the country, Evan Wessel.
Well, we talked about this briefly, Mark. In terms of scoring margin, there aren't many teams as dominant as Wichita State. As a matter of fact, only the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin have a bigger margin of victory in conference this year than Greg Marshall's Shockers.
Now, Wichita State's playing at a high level defensively. There's no coincidence in the fact that Fred Van Vliet now 100%. That's the reason why Wichita State has kicked it into a different gear.
Van Vliet leads all scorers right now with 7, and it's a 10-point Shockers lead. He pulls up, tough shot, no good. Offensive rebound, though, goes to the Shockers and a fresh 30.
That's Anton Grady right there working the offensive glass, and he gets rewarded with a touch in the paint.
Grady spins baseline.
That's
nice
tough.
Shot by Anton Grady. First field goal of the game for him.
Yeah, he is starting to round into form. I saw him late last season against Green Bay when he was at Cleveland State. He was dominant.
And he's really revamped his diet ever since that spinal concussion you talked about. Started eating a lot healthier, and it shows in his play.
He's quicker off his feet. Well, you can sense the frustration in Redbird Arena. I'd just keep going to the paint, though. Keep pounding it in.
And a traveling violation called on McIntosh with 4:40 to go. Wichita State doubling up the Redbirds.
Anton Grady, watch him work the offensive glass. He goes and pursues the ball outside of his area, saves it. Look at his footwork right here. He stays strong with the basketball. Boy, I love that when you see a guy wheel on his heel and balance to knock it down.
And Anton Grady, as you mentioned, graduated, transferred from Cleveland State, and the only reason he came to Wichita was because he wanted to play in the NCAA tournament. Looks like he's going to get his chance as long as nothing epic in the upset category happens to Wichita State.
And this team may go a lot longer than just make the NCAA tournament. But Anton Grady and Shaq Morris, those two guys are combining for 14 points a game and 8 rebounds and play about 32 minutes. That's a pretty good post guy.
Greg Marshall has put those types of pieces together a couple seasons ago when they went 35-0 before losing in the NCAA tournament. They had a 3-headed monster at the 5 spot. Nobody putting up spectacular numbers, but all of a sudden you look at the stat sheets and you add them up, and it adds up to one pretty good 5-man.
And besides Van Vliet and Baker, we could say that across every other position on this team. They combine well for production.
Here's another lob. Beautiful look from Van Vliet to Morris.
So why is Greg Marshall the winningest coach at Winthrop and Wichita State? Because of timeouts and plays just like that.
Paris Lee.
Finally.
Second triple of the game for the Redbirds. Just the 3rd field goal for Illinois State, and we have 4 minutes left in the first half. Here's McLeod with a steal.
Well, I'd like to see McLeod get an open touch here, number 15 in white, because he can get it going. He's been hot lately. Here he comes. They don't get it to him.
Lee forces it up and gets it to go. Back-to-back buckets for the junior out of Maywood, Illinois.
Yeah, Paris Lee feeling a little bit right now, and Illinois State only down 9, even with their shooting woes. I like the ball movement.
Morris, baseline. Looked good off his hand.
Big possession for Illinois State. Big confidence-boosting potential for Illinois State.
Nice look inside. Lee almost made it 3 for 3. Here's Baker running the point. Kelly from the wing. Yes, another triple for the Shockers.
Boy, this team just responds. They're playing championship level basketball right now.
Greg Marshall could come at you in waves with his bench. He uses them liberally.
See how Illinois State, it's really a donut offense right now. Nobody in the paint. Finally, McIntosh settles in the turnover.
Stolen by Wessel. Counting down to 2 minutes to go. It's been a dominant effort so far for the Shockers.
For Wichita State just making Illinois State stay in a stance and chase the ball.
8 to shoot. Van Vliet great at the end of the shot clock and shows it again.
He looked off every defender on that play and found a wide open Shaq Morris. That combination has been deadly here in the first half. Fred Van Vliet to Shaq Morris. Throw it up and throw it down, Big Shaq. And then he looks up. Watch him look right, look right, look right. Give it up to Shaq Morris. Put it in, big fella. That's good two-man basketball.
Be the new #1, fellas.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. And we talked about that earlier. #1, #2 going down. Just another day in college basketball in the 2015-16 season.
If I were picking a Final Four today, it would be Villanova, Xavier, Wichita State, and Dayton. How's that?
That comes straight from the mouth of a mid-majorologist.
Hey, I called Butler in 2009 before anybody. Just saying. It's a super bold prediction, that's all. I'm into it tonight.
Rich Hollenberg, Mark Adams, the rest of the ESPN2 crew from Normal, Illinois, and Devon Akun-Purcell ends the drought for the Redbirds.
Well, he's critical. He's the guy that can score in bunches for Illinois State and has struggled early against the length of Wichita State defensively.
Wessel, quick shot, no good.
Let's see if Devon Akun-Purcell can create offense for himself. He's smelling his shot right now. Number 44 in white. Check him out.
Under a minute to go. Wichita State riding a 12-game win streak into this contest. Van Vliet got a hand on it, but Quentin Brewer muscles it up and in.
Quentin Brewer, not a guy we see a whole lot of, but he's able to finish in the paint, which nobody else has seemed to be able to do for the Redbirds so far.
Nice look inside from Frankamp to Morris. Now you see why Shaq Morris has led this team in scoring 2 of the last 3.
Well, he's really been active about setting screens and rolling hard to the basket, catching Illinois State in their rotations.
Shaq Morris's season high is 13. He has 10 already tonight. Under 10 to go in the half. Lee, floater no. McIntosh offensive rebound. It's good if it goes. And it doesn't. Wichita State is 17-2 when leading at the half. They're looking for their 12th straight win in conference. We're at halftime in Normal. We send you to Chris Hassel and Andy Katz in the studio for our Land Rover halftime report.
All right, it's been a wild and woolly day.
Welcome back to Saturday Night Hoops in the Valley, where the Shockers are dominating on the road against Illinois State 33-21, and Fred Van Vliet leading the way with 7 points and 4 dimes, Mark Adams.
Fred Van Vliet is playing with a chip on his shoulder. Why? He was left off the Bob Cousy list. That means that somebody doesn't think he's one of the best 10 point guards in America. You tell me if he should be on the Bob Cousy list. He can dish it, he can shoot it, and he makes everybody better. And he can defend as well. As we look at the stats, the reason why Wichita State is on one of the longest winning streaks in the country and dominating the Valley is because of a Bob Cousy-like Fred VanVleet.
And that Shockers' vaunted defense has come to play, holding Illinois State to their lowest first half point total of the season. Redbirds in white start off with the ball. Here's Hawkins, guarded closely by Morris, and they come up empty again.
Yeah, Hawkins faded away. He needs to invite contact there.
Starting five on the floor for Greg Marshall.
Wow.
Shockers, good look from Zach Brown to Evan Wessel.
All the white jerseys were all ball-centric. They were all concentrating on where the ball was and had no vision of cutters.
Preseason All-Americas, VanVleet and Baker in the backcourt. Wessel, Morris, and Brown, the other three on the floor for Greg Marshall Shockers. Skip pass, Banyard with the left hand, no. VanVleet a rebound.
Faded again. Whenever you see an offensive player fade in the paint, it's usually going to be soft off the rim.
Dan Muller told us yesterday, he stole a quote from Tom Izzo. You have good players are going to win games, tough players are going to win championships. Right now, the Redbirds are getting out-toughed by the Shockers.
Well, everybody in the Valley is getting out-toughed. Wichita State playing at an extremely high level right now. As Deontay Hawkins knocks down the three ball.
Second three of the night for Hawkins. He has 6. VanVleet, 7 points, 5 assists already. He has at least 5 assists in 13 of his 17 games since he came back from that hamstring injury.
Watch all the white jerseys. Look at all of them. They're all looking toward the basketball. And Evan Wessel, number 3, just slips right there. Everybody's looking at the ball. And Wessel just goes right back door and lays it up. You know, Evan Wessel's one of those guys that takes what the defense gives him. He doesn't typically score much than 3 or 4 points a game, but they're always smart plays. He outsmarts people to get his points.
Shaq Morris in double digits with 10. A 66% free throw shooter. He's now 2 for 3 from the line tonight. And no one has benefited more from a healthy Fred VanVleet than Shaq Morris.
You know, he also benefited that when Anton Grady went down, he had to carry the load, and he was challenged to step up his game, and he has.
Yeah.
And now Grady's back. It's a nice little 1-2 punch.
Yeah, Greg Marshall was honest when he said he thought Shaq Morris's career as a Wichita State basketball player was on the brink. And then all of a sudden, the injury happens to Grady. Morris forced into the starting rotation, and he's responded ever since.
And his career was on the brink. Because Greg Marshall, not exactly known for his patience.
Spin, stolen away by VanVleet. No numbers, so he takes it himself. Left hand, no good. Lee, nice take to the ball, closely guarded by Baker.
Paris Lee has been a bright spot for Illinois State. He's been able to take the ball to the hole and finish simple plays at the glass.
Tied for team high honors with 8. Here's Brown. Wessel can't come away with it. Shaq Morris does. Blocked out of bounds by Tony Wills.
Paris Lee has been able to get leverage off the dribble as he surveys. There's that shoulder slant again. I always like to evaluate dribblers with how low they get versus the defensive player. And look at the rebound right there. That's 2 hands. That's a guy that wants the ball more than everybody else in Shaq Morris. And Evan Wessel always sniffing it out.
Baker short on the jumper. And the crowd inside Redbird Arena finally finding something to cheer about. That's the second foul on number 24, Shaq Morris. So Morris will go to the bench, and Greg Marshall will go back to his well-oiled bench. He uses a lot of players for a lot of minutes.
Now, Wichita State has 12 guys that average between 1 and 4.7 rebounds a game. 12 guys.
Yeah, it's the cumulative effect.
Yeah. Ron Baker's the leading rebounder at 4.6 rebounds a game. There's a bunch of other guys that are 3.3, 3.2, 2.7.
Baker comes away with the loose ball. Here's Van Vliet. Good defense by McLeod, knocking it out of bounds, and it's going to be Illinois State basketball. That looked like another one for the clip reel from Baker to Van Vliet.
Yeah, it did. Credit Illinois State for sprinting back.
Could you imagine what the scene's going to be like inside Koch Arena on February 27th?
Wow.
The last home game of their career.
You know, Xavier McDaniel, Antoine Carr, Cheese Johnson, all those guys are going to be either there or watching, and those are some of the legends.
Good offensive rebound by Akun Purcell. Did they count the bucket? Yes, they do. Double digits for Akun Purcell, a chance at a three-point play.
Devon Akun Purcell, we've been waiting for him to show up. Well, he just arrived on the offensive glass. A little bit of Devon Akuna Matata here, Purcell on the offensive glass. I love the emotion.
Wichita State dominates in almost every category across the Missouri Valley Conference. The one edge that Illinois State has on the Shockers, they're second in the conference in offensive rebound.
Well, look at their size. Mikhail McIntosh, Hawkins at 6'7", Akun Purcell at 6'5". I mean, those guys can all go get offensive glass work.
And a good start to the second half for the homestanding Redbirds. They're in the midst of an 8-1 run to get themselves back in this game.
I like the full court pressure here. Paris Lee really good at that.
Another turnover forced.
Over the last 2 years, Paris Lee has been one of the steal leaders combined over those 2 seasons. There is number 1 in white, Paris Lee. He can wreak havoc defensively.
He was 9th in the nation last year and steals 4th in the conference so far this year.
Akun Purcell wants it.
Lee takes it instead. High-arcing three.
Here we go.
Tip ball went off Anton Grady, and a chance to extend an 11-1 run.
Remember, Illinois State is the last team in the Valley to beat Wichita State. Last season in Arch Madness, they knocked them off in the semifinals.
Redbirds shooting 4 for 7 this half.
I was there for that game, and this team played with supreme confidence. They're not scared.
Lee off the mark on that one. Kelly clears. Shaq Morris, who was the leading scorer in the first half, on the bench in foul trouble.
That zone, that high post area to Anton Grady. He's settling into that dead spot. They don't get it to him.
Kelly. Now 5 to shoot. Baker turns, fires. Short.
Good defense by Illinois State. That zone's bothering Wichita State.
A 3 makes it a 1-possession ball game. Here it is. Got it! .49 to go. Mark, if the first half was a haymaker by Wichita State, Illinois State has responded with a haymaker of their own.
Nick Banyard. Bang! Here we go in the Valley on a Saturday night.
38-35, we got a ball game from Normal, Illinois. Wichita State up 3 on Illinois State. No love lost between these two teams. It's been 11 months since they last met, and an epic upset from the Redbirds against the Shockers.
In the semifinals of Arch Madness, Deshaun Knight takes it to the hole in a thriller for the Redbirds of Illinois State. Wichita State was number 8 in the country. They had just won the regular season in the Valley. Fred Van Vliet with the deuce. And all of a sudden, we got a tie game now. Wichita State down by 3. Van Vliet with the look. Illinois State moves on to play Northern Iowa for the championship of the Valley. Northern Iowa ended up winning the tournament championship, and Wichita State went on to beat Kansas to move to the Sweet 16.
Illinois State has lost their last 11 regular season games to Wichita State, but that win 11 months ago proved to Dan Muller and his troops that they could compete with the Shockers.
And you could tell they were laying in wait for this game.
Van Vliet, shot clock winding down, no good. A chance to tie with a 3.
Well, that zone really bothering the Shockers.
Banyard, same spot as last time. Not this time.
Off. Anton Grady really blocked off there.
Look at the up-ahead look. Van Vliet to Frankamp.
Frankamp ran the floor well, and Van Vliet, if you're open, he's just going to get you the ball. He delivers.
Just an otherworldly sense of the court.
Baker versus Akut Purcell. Baker wins.
And now the Shockers have stemmed the tide. Up by 5, counting down to 13.5 to go, looking for their 13th straight win.
I'd like to see Frankamp ready to shoot that shot.
Grady lost it. Akun Purcell fouled by Van Vliet. 13:22 to go, timeout on the floor. He might not be on the Kuzi list, but he's on Mark Adams' list. We'll have more on that when we return. '21st-ranked Shockers have led from the opening tip on the road in Normal, Illinois, but Illinois State is making it a game down just 5 in the second half. And this game has no shortage of Mark Adams, Missouri Valley Player of the Year candidates, Ron Baker and Fred Van Vliet. And what about the rest of the field?
You know, Ron Baker and Fred Van Vliet right now, I think it splits the vote. Those are the two guys that I think should be Player of the Year based upon what they've done so far. And then Egidius Miscavicius, who leads the country in rebounds, was one of the top guys in double-doubles, top 3 all season long. But if I'm voting right now for Player of the Year, I'd split my vote between Baker and Van Vliet.
Can't go wrong with that. Also, speaking of Evansville, I want to give a shout-out to DJ Ballantyne. 18 points today, and their win becomes Evansville's all-time leading scorer.
One of the class kids in college basketball. I love DJ Ballantyne, and he's so respectful. He plays so hard. He's learned how to play the right way, and just nothing but positives to DJ Ballantyne. All-time leading scorer in Evansville history. He passed Colt Ryan to get there.
12 points now for Akun Purcell. It's an 11-2 Illinois State run, and that run coincides with Shaq Morris being on the bench for Greg Marshall.
And this zone, too, has been very stingy. They've had a tough time finding open areas. There it is.
Morris. 7 on the shot clock. Morris from the elbow. Akun Purcell, another rebound. He's working on a double-double. Brewer fouled by Morris, and that'll be number 3 on the sophomore.
Quentin Brewer has been productive for Illinois State. Number 2 in white at 6'8", 215 pounds. The transfer from Bethune-Cookman. He has really played well tonight against Shaq Morris and company.
Brewer hits the first. Well, big Monday coming up in a couple of days. We got another ACC heavyweight battle. Number 19 Louisville and the Duke Blue Devils. That game will also be streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Louisville taking themselves out of postseason contention this year, self-imposed sanctions. And of course, Wichita State fans remember Louisville for being another team in the Final Four a couple seasons ago when the Shockers made their run back in 2013.
Damian Lee transferred from Drexel. Trey Lewis transferred from Cleveland State in order to go to the NCAA tournament. Now they will be denied that opportunity.
Good to see Mike Krzyzewski back on the sidelines for the Blue Devils earlier today in their win against North Carolina State. Missed a game prior to that, but he was back, and the Blue Devils back in the win column.
You know, Duke has been different this year. They're just not as good defensively, certainly as they were a year ago, but Grayson Allen, how much fun is he to watch?
A 2-point game. Wichita State in the lead. Frankamp off the mark. And now the Redbirds have a chance to tie or take their first lead of the game.
Well, Paris Lee in attack mode. He's been the guy to put it on the floor. There he is.
Lee, a triple will bring this house down. That time, the foul's going to be on Anton Grady. 11:55 to go. We've got a tight one. The Shockers looking to make it 13 straight. Illinois State has other ideas. Wichita State with a 3-game lead over Evansville in the win column in the Missouri Valley standings so far. And this shows you why this game would be so valuable for the Redbirds, because they right now a half game behind the Purple Aces for second place in the conference.
Yeah, it is a battle for the number 2 seed right now. Evansville at 8-4, victorious today as DJ Ballantyne became the all-time leading scorer for the Aces. But Illinois State can match that now at 8-4 with a win tonight at home against Wichita State.
Yeah, golden opportunity now for the Redbirds. I'm sure they don't know about the Indiana State and the Southern Illinois scores, but those are 2 upsets in the Valley to drop those 2 teams to 7-4 or 7-5 in conference. A win here would get some separation for Illinois State.
Boy, what a win for Loyola. That's a team that's really struggled early with Milton Doyle and that bunch, but they are starting to come on right now.
Speaking of coming on, Wichita State dominating the Redbirds in the first half. An 18-3 Illinois State run in the second half has brought them to within 1.
Comes the trap from Paris Lee. And Greg Marshall against this zone has Van Vliet, Connor Frankamp, and Ron Baker all loading up from three-point land against this zone. He's got shooters in. He's got Baker in the high post area.
Wichita State only 3 for 11. Wessel, no. Offensive rebound, Grady. Here's Baker. And Baker can't get it to go in traffic.
He got bumped by his own guy, Anton Grady. Bumped into Ron Baker.
Ron Baker has 5 rebounds tonight, but only 2 for 8 from the field.
Look at Baker surveying in that valley area against the zone. That's the open area, and that's the adjustment that Greg Marshall made in that last timeout, but they come up empty.
So here comes Illinois State with a chance to take their first lead of the game with a bucket. McIntosh. And he travels.
You know, it's interesting how they're attacking Baker defensively in the mid-post area, and Baker now 3 different times has made the defensive play. I think they got to go to a different matchup. I would not attack Ron Baker. Look at Baker surveying. Look at the Valley area right there, where the Valley logo is. He's just working that area.
And we've got a foul on the floor, 10:47 to go, and 14 seconds on the shot clock. That foul's going to go on Devon Akun-Purcell, his first foul of the night.
The more Ron Baker, number 31 in black, rolls into the open wood against the zone, the more successful Wichita State's going to be. There he gets a touch.
Inside Grady. Got a good position and a terrific delivery, as usual, by Van Vliet.
Anton Grady moved his defenders so far up the paint, it allowed the passing angle down to the block. He was very aggressive there. Might have even been a little bit too aggressive, but got away with it.
Anton Grady had 10 points in 13 minutes last time out against Southern Illinois. That broke a streak of 7 games where he scored under 10 points a contest. He only has 3 tonight.
Well, Anton Grady came back off the spinal concussion earlier this season. And there was a few moments there we didn't know if he'd ever play again.
Inside. Blocked by Grady. Banyard got it back, 10 on the shot clock. Now 5 to shoot.
Well, there's just nothing.
Great look from Akun Purcell, and we have a tie ball game.
For a lot of standing around against this zone. The less the ball moves, the more it plays into the hand of the long defenders of Illinois State.
Frankamp, Grady, end the shot clock, and Van Vliet off the mark. He hasn't scored since the 11-minute mark of the first half. A 20-4 Redbirds run. Make it 23-4. Counting down to 9 minutes to go, Mark, and this is their first lead of the game.
I've seen this movie before in the semifinals of Arch Madness.
Nice look, Baker. Wessel can't finish, Grady does.
But Illinois State has done a good job against this man-to-man defense of waiting for Wichita State to make a mistake. And now Wichita State, they switch up defenses. They go zone now.
We saw Van Vliet and Baker both holding up a fist. An open look. In and out. Big rebound by Grady. And that collision sent both players to the floor. I think that's Nick Banyard, 0 in white. 8:28 to go. And this is turning out to be the physical battle we expected.
Anton Grady leaves the basket on the double team, and Banyard is wide open. And then the extra pass as Hawkins knocks it down. That's what he's known for. Yeah, I see ya. I see the three.
It'll be Wichita State ball. 8:28 to go. And the Redbirds find themselves up by 1.
And let's put this in context. Except for Evansville at Wichita State, which was a 3-point game, nobody's been close in the Valley.
Average margin of victory for the Shockers, 20.4 points per game. What a take by Baker.
Baker becoming more aggressive against the zone. He's finding open spaces. Wichita State back into man-to-man for this possession.
Kick ball, and it'll be Illinois State basketball when we return. It's been all Redbirds. Dan Muller and company back in this one, trailing by just 1. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA, and by Hampton. Wherever the road takes you, we'll be there to make your trip even better. Well, it seemed like a smooth road for Ron Baker, Fred Van Vliet and company in the first half, but it's been a rocky road in the second half. Normal Illinois and Redbird Arena has erupted as Illinois State has come to life in the second half. They trailed it by a dozen in the first half and have come back to outscore Wichita State handily in the second half and close the gap to just one, Mark Adams.
Illinois State has won 4 out of their last 5, and Dan Muller challenged his team about a month ago to step up and play harder. Attention to detail. He felt like he was too easy on his team after his best friend and top assistant Tory Ward died in that plane crash at the Final Four. He thought he was a little bit too easy. He's not too easy anymore.
Good effort on the offensive glass by Mikhail McIntosh. And Illinois State will be shooting free throws. That's going to be the third on Zach Brown.
Well, this team suffered such a loss with the loss of Tory Ward in that plane crash where 7 individuals from the Redbird family died in that crash. This community has come together, and Dan Muller has led the way with his team, with the community, in bringing this Redbird bunch together, and they're showing that grit and toughness right now.
In and out for McIntosh, and a foul on the loose ball. That's the third foul on number 2 in white, Quentin Brewer, and it's the 6th Illinois State team foul, so still foul to give for the Redbirds. Here's Van Vliet.
Now, Rich, I came into this season feeling like Illinois State was the second best team in the Valley. They got off to a rough start, but they're starting to come together.
Here's McDuffie, the freshman. Wichita State is led by as much as 16 in this contest, but we have a tie ball game with 7:15 to go. And if that foul's on Shaq Morris, that's at number 4. Instead, it's going to go on Vliet. Van Vliet's third. My best guess is that Greg Marshall's going to keep him on the floor, though, Mark.
Well, Paris Lee now also knows he has 3, and Paris Lee has shown the ability to get by the black jersey defenders.
Both teams in the bonus, so free throws on every subsequent foul.
You know, Paris Lee grew up in a tough part of Chicago. He witnessed a drive-by shooting when he was a kid. His mother decided to move him out to Maywood, where he played for Chicago Jesuit Academy. And this kid is tough. He's a great defender, a good kid. And we've seen his ability to get by defenders and make plays.
Averages over 10 a game to go along with nearly 4 assists per game. He's above his season average tonight. He has 13, and Illinois State's up a deuce.
Illinois State with a little bit of man pressure, and then they fall back in the 2-3 zone. But every time the ball stalls, it's advantage Illinois State. Good pass.
Morris, one
Love
more,
that.
and Zach Brown finishes.
Really good movement inside that dead area of the zone, and great ball movement to attack.
Tied at 47. Shockers tops in the conference in scoring at 75 a game.
This is where Paris Lee has been in attack mode. There he goes.
Left-handed jumper is good. He's the hottest player on the floor right now with 15.
Now let's see if Wichita State can get back-to-back good offensive flows against the zone.
Give a lot of credit to Wichita State's defense. How about that Redbirds team?
Really good.
5 to shoot. Baker splits the defense. Left hand. And Ron Baker will go to the line, much to the consternation of the Redbird faithful.
You know, Baker moves to his left here. Watch as he comes. He splits the double team right there. Now watch him float to his left. Bang, bang, play.
Ron Baker averaging over 14 a game. As we documented earlier, his last 3 contests, he scored under 10 points each. Tonight he has 7.
If he goes straight on, that's a no-doubt charge. But because he just moved a little bit, that defender moved about a half an inch and drew the block call.
Ron Baker just finds a way to win, even if it's not scoring. He was only 2 for 10 from the field in their last game, a win against Southern Illinois. Tonight, he's 3 for 9 from the field against a stingy Illinois State defense.
Well, the best guard in the second half has been that kid, number 1 in white, Paris Lee.
Illinois State up by 1 with the ball. Just over 5.5 to go. Hawkins, good hands by McDuffie. And a fresh, they keep the shot clock, and there's 3 to shoot. And Akun Purcell dribbles it out of bounds, but the officials say it's going to go off Wichita State and stay Illinois State basketball. Only problem, Mark, is there's 0 on the shot clock.
Yeah, I believe, though, that the official from the top came down, and they're discussing it right now. I thought there was still 1 second left on the shot clock.
And I thought they were going to reset the shot clock off that last miss.
Because the ball hit the rim.
Yeah.
It may not have been a shot, per se, but the ball hit the rim. So watch this ball. I mean, it goes up, and that hit the rim. So the shot clock, it should reset off of that.
And now we keep the clock running. And now the next question is, who did the ball go off of, and is there time left on the shot clock?
It may not have been a pretty shot, but it was a shot. That ball was going up.
Your officials, Terry Davis, Brad Ferry, Jeff Campbell, and they're going to be reviewing this one.
So his hands are going up, so you could interpret that as being in the shooting motion. It gets deflected, but that ball hits the rim. As soon as the hands go up in a shooting motion, and you can interpret, look at his hands go up. You can interpret that as a shot attempt, and it hits the rim.
.20 to go. What was a dominating performance by Wichita State in the first half has now become a nail-biter for the Shockers, who are looking to extend a 12-game win streak, which is tied for second in the nation.
The second part of it, they missed it, but the ball goes out of bounds. There was still 1 second on the shot clock. Either way, it should be Illinois State's ball with the ball out of bounds underneath the basket.
So they put 1 second back on the shot clock. And if that's the case, then they're going to say it's Illinois State basketball.
See, I disagree. I think that was a shot because I saw the hands go up. I don't care what it looked like. The hands were going up, and I would interpret that as a shot. I disagree with the call.
And the worst possible outcome, other than a bucket, the Shockers commit a foul on the inbounds.
With
and that's Shaq Morris's 4th.
1 second on the shot clock, and Shaq Morris gets called for the foul, and Greg Marshall hates it.
So it'll be 2 shots for Deontay Hawkins. Hawkins has 9, all his points coming from beyond the arc tonight. First free throws of the night for Hawkins. And he knocks down the first. A 70% free throw shooter this season. I don't want to belabor the point, but the replay at the end of the shot clock, it looked clear to me that the ball went off Akun Purcell's foot.
Yeah. But the official right away called it out on Akun Purcell. And that's only reviewable at the end of the game.
Largest lead of the game for the Redbirds, and it's just 3. Catch, fire, short. Baker's offensive struggles continue, but it'll stay Shockers basketball.
With both officials getting together again, and they're going to change that call. I thought it was off of Marcus McDuffie in real time, and the out official came in to correct. Let's watch. It's off McDuffie. That's the way I saw it in real time, and the out official saw it the right way and corrected it.
So back-to-back possessions where the call goes the way of the Redbirds. Five on the shot clock. Hawkins double team. Put it up, empty. Fresh 30 seconds for Illinois State.
Boy, Illinois State really lively to the basketball. They're getting those 50-50 balls that you typically see Wichita State getting advantage.
Here's McIntosh, mid-post. Shockers ratcheting it up on defense.
Where Baker gave Paris Lee nothing.
Deep three from Hawkins. Off the mark. Offensive rebound of Purcell. And it's possession arrow Wichita State. They called a jump ball, so it'll be Wichita State basketball. Well, the second longest active win streak is on the line right now as the Shockers came into Normal, Illinois, winners of 12 straight games. They're 11-0 in the Missouri Valley Conference, and it hasn't even been close. They've been winning their Valley games by an average margin of 20.4 points per game.
And the best road team in the country since 2010-11 is Wichita State.
When we come back, Ron Baker will be going to the line and shooting two, looking to keep the Shockers within shouting distance.
It's at 10-2, fellas.
All right, look forward to that game, but not until this one plays itself out. It is turning out to be a barn burner at Redbird Arena in Normal, Illinois. The homestanding Redbirds have come all the way back from 16 down to take a 3-point lead on the 21st ranked Wichita State Shockers. 3:58 to go, and Ron Baker makes it a 2-point game.
And Paris Lee has been the story for Illinois State in the second half. He has attacked and probed that defense and made big shots.
Baker rattles in the second one as well. That gives him 10 points for the game. We had a 1-point contest, 3:58 left.
Little full court pressure. Now they're denying Paris Lee the basketball. Fred Van Vliet, number 23, matched up with Lee. There he finally gets it.
Not only is their current 12-game win streak on the line, Wichita State has won 19 straight regular season Missouri Valley games. Hawkins. Count it!
Deontay Hawkins, known for his ability to shoot the three ball, but Dan Muller wants him to be more physical down on the block. Good catch, good finish. Like the way he turns in right there, not fading away, goes right to the body of Anton Grady. Well done by Deontay Hawkins.
Shaq Morris on the bench with 4 fouls. Anton Grady now has 3. Hawkins completes the 3-point play to give him 14 points tonight, and Illinois State is up by 4. With 3.5 to go, the Redbirds have their largest lead of the game.
Well, Illinois State has been so effective in that zone. They're cheating out towards shooters. And Wichita State has had non-aggressive ball movement against the zone at times.
Frankamp spotted up.
Just a matter of time before that guy starts knocking down shot after shot. Connor Frankamp, the transfer from Kansas.
Shockers have 2 timeouts remaining. Illinois State with 3. Possession arrow in favor of the Redbirds. And that's the 4th foul on Anton Grady.
Well, how many times have we seen Paris Lee come off of a screen and those post guys show harder switch and he just attacks them. He draws contact. Grady got caught that time.
16 now for Paris Lee. It's been a three-headed monster on offense for Dan Muller's Redbirds. Lee with 16, Hawkins has 14, and Devon Purcell has also chipped in with a dozen.
And Paris Lee has made everybody else better as well. He's just been dynamite here in the second half. He played right alongside Deshaun Knight when Deshaun Knight scored 25 in Arch Madness to knock off the Shockers in the semifinals. It might be Paris Lee's turn. Shaq Morris got to be more aggressive in the paint area to take up those defenders. There he is. Oh, you got to square up and look to shoot there.
Fran Camp. Not that time. And the foul's on the floor. Great effort, as usual, by number 3 in black, Evan Wessel.
Yeah, Devon Purcell and Evan Wessel were in a scrum for that rebound.
Evan Wessel at the line, shooting 2, looking to keep the Shockers in shooting range. Redshirt senior from Wichita, Kansas, picked up his 100th career win in their last victory over Southern Illinois.
He has the best winning percentage for his career of any player over the last 20 years.
He's won 91% of his games.
He misses.
It stays a 3-point lead.
Well, Dan Muller's going to spread out the defense here. They want Purcell. There he is.
Baker staying aggressive. Purcell short. And Kelly with the rebound.
Baker's mid-range post defense has been excellent in the second half.
He's one of the best mid-range players on either end of the
floor. He really is. If Fran Camp gets open again, let it fly.
Wessel.
There he is.
Too strong. And it's one and done for the Shockers. Counting down to a minute and a half to go.
I'd run shot clock and let Paris Lee do his thing. Don't even give it up. Don't pass it to anybody. Make your play.
Lee, no. Wessel clears for Wichita State. And it's closing time, and that means just one man, Fred Van Vliet.
Yeah, he knows it too.
Here he is. Short again. This zone defense by Illinois State has really taken its toll on Wichita State in the second half.
Good move by Dan Muller. It's paying dividends. Purcell says he wants it. He just walked by Dan Muller and said, I want it, and now he's got it.
Off the screen. Blocked out of bounds by Baker. 5 on the shot clock. Illinois State has not beaten Wichita State in the regular season in the last 11 tries. And it's been a tough season so far. 2 games over 500, but if you looked at the teams they played earlier this year, it's like a who's who in the top 10.
And they've won 4 out of their last 5. They lost to Kentucky, they lost to Maryland, and played them both very tough. But this team has had a difficult time finding their rhythm together, but they found it over the last 5 games, and they came in with a belief that they could beat Wichita State, and they've got them on the ropes right now. Why? Because Paris Lee has attacked. He's probed, he's finished against quality defenders. Paris Lee has seen everybody open on the floor, and when he's open, he's knocking down the 3-ball. Paris Lee, right there, that's as good as it gets against tough defense.
Lee and Deontay Hawkins have scored the team's last 14 points. Paris Lee just about 7 points over his season average. His career high is 18.
So with 5 seconds on the shot clock, I'd look for Paris Lee to get him the inbounds pass and then let him attack and try to draw contact. If you can't get to Paris Lee, then you look at Devon Akun-Purcell, because he's got size to see over defenders and make a play. Paris Lee's going to take it out.
Both teams have 2 timeouts remaining. Both teams in the bonus. Possession arrow, Redbirds. With 3 on the shot clock. McIntosh almost beat it. Tipped out of bounds. It'll stay Wichita State basketball. Shockers came in, winners of 12 straight games. That's the second longest current win streak in NCAA basketball. They've also won 19 straight regular season Missouri Valley Conference games. Both of those numbers perilously in threat. Well, coming up after tonight's marquee matchup between OKC and Splash City on ESPN, you can stick around for SportsCenter at night with John Buchagras and Steve Levy. All the highlights from the NBA, NHL, and updates from UFC 196. Plus, they'll let you know if there are any more big upsets in college basketball. This one might be included on that list. SportsCenter at night, Saturday, after the Thunder Warriors game on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN. Well, the last regular season Shockers loss in the Missouri Valley Conference came on January 31st, 2015. That was to Northern Iowa, and they lost 70-54. We were at that game, and it's been that long since the Shockers have tasted defeat against one of their conference foes.
Well, they tried to find Baker on the out of bounds. Van Vliet wide open, misses.
And the clock continued to run once the whistles were blown.
They've got to review that.
We had trouble seeing the game clock. The shot clock was off. We had trouble seeing the game clock, but it looked to me like the clock continued to run after the first whistle blew. Redbird Arena is ready to explode. Illinois State up 3, 56-53. Here's a look at the last play.
Van Vliet was left wide open at the top of the key as Paris Lee leaves toward Connor Frankamp.
And if I'm Dan Muller, I'm not the least bit pleased about this, because I think the only reason their whistle was blown was because the official saw that the shot clock or the clock stopped working.
Yeah, there should be over 12 seconds left in this game.
No, they actually did call a foul down by the baseline. And look at Dan Muller, smile on his face, very positive. There is 12.2 on the clock. The last time the Redbirds could boast a win over Wichita State, well, you'll have to go back 11 months. Arch Madness, where they beat them by 3.
Paris Lee, in honor of his fallen assistant coach, Torrey Ward, actually wears Torrey Ward's shoes for certain games. Paris Lee now at the free throw line can ice this thing.
$18 for Lee, ties his career high, and makes it a 2-possession ball game.
Well, what a job Dan Muller has done in the second half to bring his team back. They were dead and buried in the first half.
Down by as many as 16. The Redbirds have stormed back, and they're 12 seconds away from an upset. Here's Baker. No. Lee comes away with it. And fittingly, the Redbirds storm the court. the Wichita State Shockers in the Missouri Valley Conference. They suffer their first loss in the conference this season at the hands of the Illinois State Redbirds, who improved to 8-4 in conference, tied for second in the Valley. So for Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg saying so long from normal. Your final score, Illinois State 58, Wichita State 53. Now we send you to Malibu, California, where Gonzaga is set to take on Pepperdine.